It was you who planned Pallister's murder, but your twin sister Maxine squibbed him off. You decided to take the rap knowing you had the perfect alibi in me. That's why you came on so strong that night.
We open on Lister playing one of those total immersion AR games, which is going to be a plot point later. This one is a detective-style game called Gumshoe.
Sir, I think you should come and take a look at this.
The last human alive, everyone.
Honestly, you haven't been off this machine in a month.
It's an AR computer simulation game. I was supposed to hand you over to the cops and wind up with a goody-goody heroine. It's not your fault, it's the way you're programmed.
She's not bad, she's just programmed that way.
Choose your character.
So apparently the only way Kryten can get through to Lister is to go into the game himself.
Oh, it's so frivolous.
That's an interesting look for Kryten. Anyway, it turns out that they've accidentally wandered into a rogue simulant hunting zone.
Sir, you have to turn off the AR console. We have to close down and continue on silent running in order to avoid detection.
Naturally, Rimmer has something to say about Lister's gaming habits.
Everybody knows you only use the AR machine to have sex. It's pathetic watching you grind away. You're like a dog that's missing his master's leg.
He's not wrong.
I don't just play the role-play games. What about the sporting simulations, like Wimbledon?
You only play Wimbledon because you're having it off with that jailbait ball girl.
She's not jailbait, she's 17.
That line is even funnier to Americans since our age of consent is 18. Also, what's up with a Wimbledon game where you can screw the tennis players? Somebody had to program that in, you know. Anyway, they're in rogue simulant territory and they're running in silent mode in an attempt to avoid detection. This is why Rimmer's uniform is red again. He switched back to soft light mode to save on power.
Scanners report a battle-class cruiser on intercept.
Rimmer suggests giving up on Red Dwarf and surrendering because of course he does.
They despise humans and all forms of humanoid life. They believe you to be the vermin of the universe, sir.
Didn't even know they'd met him.
Anyway, the simulants have contacted them, and if they find out that there are humans, humanoids, or anything previously human or made by humans, they will destroy the ship. But Lister has an idea.
Incoming.
I am Tarka Dal, an ambassador of the great Vindelian Empire. The Vindelian people despise all humans. The Vindelian Empire has pledged to exterminate them all.
And yet somehow that doesn't convince them.
Hi. How's it going, bud?
By the way, there's a great outtake for this bit, since they had to hand Kryten's eyes to Robert Llewellyn while he had his eyes closed.
Boarding this vessel is an act of war, ergo we surrender. And as prisoners of war, I invoke the All Nations Agreement, Article number 39436175880932-B.
Watch Rimmer's expression almost as soon as Kryten starts talking. He's all, God damn it, you're gonna embarrass me in front of the simulants, aren't you?
All nations attending the conference are only allocated one car parking space. Is that entirely relevant, sir? I mean, here we are in mortal danger and you're worried about the Chinese delegates bringing 2 cars.
Primitive. You'll be no sport at all. I have no alternative.
So the simulant thinks they're too weak to be of any challenge, so he knocks them all out for 2 weeks and upgrades their ship in the meantime.
Now at least you may prove to be of some small amusement.
You have 2 Earth minutes before we attack.
Let's get out of here.
Wait, we don't run, we strike.
Have I mentioned that Cat is kind of a badass now? In any case, the idea is not to run away, as the simulants are probably expecting, but to hit them with all they've got. So Starbug looks like it's fleeing, but then it suddenly turns and fires on the simulants.
What are they doing? Power up the weapons.
The simulant ship is about to explode, but they plan on taking the Red Dwarf crew with them, and counter by sending a computer virus.
See you in Silicon Hell.
Kryten thinks that if he can contract the virus himself and figure out how to fight it, he can basically create an antidote that they can use on Starbug.
Do I have your permission to sacrifice myself, sirs?
Do lemmings like cliffs? Granted.
Only according to Disney. Anyway, Kryten plans on creating what's called a Dove program.
A Dove program spreads peace through the system, obliterating the viral cells as it goes. I will have to dedicate all my runtime to its solution.
Is there anything we can do? Can we help?
Watch my dreams.
So they tune into Kryten's subconscious, his dream basically, and his trying to fight the virus is translated into an old-timey western where Kryten is the sheriff. You can't really see it in this shot, but the name of the bar he's entering is Last Chance Saloon.
Now, boys, I don't want any trouble. I'm just doing my rounds.
Unfortunately, it shows that he's not doing very well, as he's depicted as a washed-up drunk.
They say you used to be faster than a toilet stop in rattlesnake country.
Sorry, I tripped over your boot there, Mr. Jimmy, sir.
And now the virus is attacking in the form of a gang whose leader looks like one of the simulants, also representing the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Death, war, famine, and pestilence.
How can I be of service?
We want your sorry ass out of here. You got 1 hour.
Kryten is already giving up.
There's some way we can get in there and help him?
Once again, Kat is the one who suggests helping Kryten. Of course, he doesn't know how to do it, but Lister realizes that they can patch an AR game into Kryten's mind, and they can enter his dream through one of the games and help him that way.
What did I tell you? We don't even have to leave the room.
So they go with a Western-themed game called Streets of Laredo, and each chooses a character. Kat chooses the gunslinger.
Rimsey, Uno.
Rimsey chooses the brawler, leaving Lister with the knife thrower. They can't get hurt, and they can leave the game at any time.
There's a button on the inside of your glove. When you want to get out, just clap. Well, let's mosey on into town.
Aren't they adorable? Don't worry, Rimmer's got this all figured out. He's seen plenty of westerns.
Dry white wine and Perrier, please.
By the way, notice that the Red Dwarf theme is being played on the piano.
He means 3 shots of gulping whiskey, ma'am.
Naturally, Rimmer can't hold his liquor and immediately throws up. Into the hat of a big scary guy, of course.
A man beans up in the hat of Bear Strangler McGee.
Bear Strangler McGee, best name ever.
Relax. You said yourself, Lister, no one can hurt us. Besides, you're forgetting. I'm Dangerous Dan McGrew, bare fist fighter extraordinaire.
I think we just heard a bit of Chris Berry's Ronald Reagan impression.
Miss Lola, all my valuables are in this here box.
Anyway, Kryten is symbolically giving up the fight.
It's the sad git or what?
The crew tries to talk some sense into him, but he doesn't remember who they are.
You're fighting an electronic virus. You're trying to create a Dove program. Some kind of software antidote to wipe it out.
I'll drink to that. Oh!
Then this asshole tries to start trouble.
The name's Brett Riverboat. Knife Man.
So Lister steps in and shows that his knife-throwing skills are spot on. But the guy has a gang. Now it's Kat's turn to show off his skills.
Who in the heck are you?
They call me the Kid. The Riviera Kid.
Kat really steals the show in this episode, even more than usual. Anyway, after they shoot, he draws his own guns and shoots their bullets out of the air. Kryten tries to leave town and they have to stop him, but the gang gets in their way, and Rimmer, of all people, kicks their asses but good.
Marvelous.
And then Kat stops Kryten from getting away with an amazing trick shot. Yikes, even I don't think I could consume that much coffee.
2 more bowls.
Sir, I am sober, honest.
Meanwhile, Kat has figured out that Kryten's guns are symbolic of the Dove program.
They got little doves carved on them. There's no place for the bullets to go.
And once they hand Kryten the guns, he starts to remember.
I get a name. Smee.
Smeghead?
That's it. He remembers me.
But now the 4 horsemen are here and the crew has to face them. That's such a great shot.
Now I remember you. You're a computer virus. Have infection, will travel.
Unfortunately, the virus spreads to the game and they lose their special abilities. But they don't realize it yet and are still pretty confident.
Enjoy the show.
But Kat can't even seem to hold up his guns. They're actually pretty heavy, as I'll talk about more in the next Kat video. Lister can't throw his knives properly, and Rimmer can't even pick up a weapon.
It would appear that due to circumstances completely beyond my control, there's been a bit of a cock-up in the bravado department.
It's always a good episode when Rimmer gets knocked over the head, repeatedly. Also, they can no longer exit the game, so they try getting their helmets off.
You pull my nose off! Here it comes! Just coming up!
Which they eventually manage to do,
Mister!
leaving Kryten to take care of the virus.
I'm not afraid, Mr. Detzer.
And even though they can't help him anymore, they've bought him enough time to figure out what he needs to do.
Go for your guns, you scum-sucking mollusks.
So he creates the antidote with 2 minutes to go until Starbug crashes into a planet.
How long will it take? Just a few seconds. How long to impact? Just a few seconds. We're not gonna make it! Impact!
But Kryten apparently manages to load the Dove program in time for Starbug to get away. Way to go, guys. And so ends Gunmen of the Apocalypse as Starbug rides off into the sunset. Oh my god, I love this episode so much. In fact, if forced to choose, this would probably be my favorite Red Dwarf episode of the entire series. It's also generally considered a fan favorite, and it won an International Emmy Award in 1994, so I'm not alone there. As for why I like it, well, the show tends to have a lot of fun with taking these four characters who are very different from each other, and usually their differences are accentuated as they get on each other's nerves and such. The writing is good enough to support that, and it's funny and all, but I really enjoy the episodes where they band together. I just find the camaraderie of these kinds of episodes to be a nice, refreshing break from that. The Boys from the Dwarf stick together. It's actually very appropriate that this episode came right after Legion, where they were shown that they're more than the sum of their parts. I remember having a similar opinion of The Last Day, and this episode has some similarities to that. Basically, Kryten had to make a sacrifice and was all set to do it alone, but Kat steps up and suggests they all help him, and they do. And in both cases, Kryten ends up beating the enemy on his own in the end. Though the rest of the crew definitely helped a lot more here than they did in The Last Day. Another refreshing thing about this episode is that everyone gets a moment in the sun and to be a badass. That's kind of the nice thing about Season 6 overall. They're shown to be able to work together very well, and as much joking as there is about how inefficient they are, really these episodes show the opposite. I mean, being in deep space and separated from the mothership isn't exactly an ideal situation, but they do pretty well for themselves, all things considered. They definitely are able to get by. And again, the whole Western theme is a nice change from the usual sort of surroundings. It was filmed at an Old West reenactment town in Kent, which has its own website, such as it is, and apparently you can still visit it. Fun fact, while they were making this episode, the script got around to someone who told them that it was way outside the budget, so they better cancel it, except that they had already finished filming it by then. Of course, while the Western scenes are the focus of the episode, that part of it doesn't even start until just before the halfway point, and there's plenty of other good stuff outside of it, like Lister playing the detective game and the bit where they try to fool the simulants by pretending to be aliens named after Indian food. The simulants themselves are pretty cool too, and legitimately intimidating. Notice that their ship kind of resembles a cow skull, a symbol you'd see in a Western. The episode even has its own unique theme song, so they definitely put a lot of work into this one, and it definitely paid off. Hell, I'm almost sad that I'm done talking about it now. Next up is Emo Hawk Polymorph 2. See you then.
I think I've devised a fair and equitable system of choosing who should survive. It's based on age, rank, seniority, usefulness. To cut a long story short, it's me.